So some of your process might be, if you're thinking about your cat, you might say, okay, is there something I can do about it right now? If not, can I put it in my calendar, my electronic device, whatever, where I can get back to it when I'm able to?
Sure.
Correct?
Yeah, it's perfectly fine to decide not to decide about something as long as you have a decide not to decide system. So the big problem with all of this is, and I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm a practicing human being. But the truth is that over, I'm almost 65, and in all my years, it seems like that if you keep some commitment in your head and not somewhere else, that there's a part of your psyche that thinks you should be doing it all the time. That's why it wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning about stuff you can't do anything about. And that's why while you're trying to focus on something, it's bringing in a focus on something else you can't do anything about. So your mind actually doesn't have one. It actually seems to operate in a kind of a stupid way, much like a dumb terminal. It just pops this stuff back in random, weird, ad hoc fashion, and that is not how you actually want to get it done.
Yeah, which is why to have a reliable system that you can go back to frees your mind up, and I think that's the beauty of your system.
And it's not anything foreign. Everybody listening to this, I'm sure, even if you haven't, quote, implemented GTD, the one thing that's probably not distracting you on your mind is where you need to be a week from Tuesday afternoon at 3:15 in the afternoon. Why? Because that's the one system people actually do trust that's outside their psyche, is their calendar. They trust that you have, if you trust that I've got all my appointments on there, or all the commitments that relate to time and days are on there, and you also trust that you'll look at your calendar at some appropriate interval, then it's not on your mind. You may not like where you have to be a week from Tuesday, but you don't have to like your life to get it off your mind. It just says, okay, my mind now does not need to keep the job of remembering and reminding, and it does not do that very well. And I don't know how long I guess I'll maybe live another 65 years, and I'll be preaching this till the cows come home, because I don't know how, it's so strange that people don't get this. If you ever have felt overwhelmed and confused and you sat down and you made a list and you felt a little bit better, if you actually just sat and thought about that for a second, about why that worked, you'd never keep anything in your head the rest of your life. So that's why I scratch my head. I go, well, I guess I'll just keep preaching this stuff. I mean, I guess if everybody got this just by reading my first book, Getting Things Done, which it's all in there, then I'd have to go find another job. So I guess I have job security here.
Well, I suspect that you will live another 65 years, because one of the side benefits of having the free time, you call it finding your inside time, and then having the creativity to do whatever you please is, I'm sure, good health.
Yeah, it helps a bunch. I mean, there's so many stress-related diseases, and there's so much stress that's being created by people not doing this, fairly simple stuff, that certainly is going to help.
Okay, so why don't more people want to do this? Why do they keep stumbling around and banging their heads against, all kinds of issues and problems?
Beats me. I have no idea. I say that somewhat facetiously. It's just like all of us have habits we'd love to change, and it's just hard to change them because they're deeply grooved otherwise. And changing your habits and changing your comfort zones and changing your standards, is quite an event. It can be very frustrating because this looks so easy to do, but keeping everything out of your head, literally while you're walking down the street, you go, oh, I need to buy bread, or oh, I want to talk to Bill about X. To absolutely stop right then and grab something out of your pocket and write that down, or call your own answer machine and record it, or whatever the heck you do that's going to capture that in some trusted bucket that you're going to rummage through sooner than later, that is a huge habit to change. And, most people don't believe it, because once they start to implement GTD, they say, oh, this is so easy, this is so great. And I say, yeah, I'll give you 2 years if you're really, really good, until you can't stand having anything in your head, and therefore this behavior is truly ingrained as a habit. So I understand it's a challenge to regroove the nervous system.
Absolutely. I think we have these neuron pathways that are embedded, and they need to be uprooted, or new ones need to be created. And that's what probably takes a while.
Indeed. And that's why we coach people. When we work with people one-on-one, we at least have 16 hours. Usually we like to get at least 2 days, contiguous days, working with someone one-on-one, sort of at their workflow, simply because write it down, and then decide what's the action and what's the outcome and park that in some appropriate place. And to do that with every single piece of input, both that you've self-generated as well as the stuff you're capturing, it's something you can literally practice, just like, swinging a tennis racket. Reading the book is sort of like, well, okay, I can watch a video and realize there is a game called tennis and I could probably play it. So a lot of people get inspired once they see the GTD model because they see, oh, I could do that. You don't need any different tools or any different skills than you currently have to implement it. But then you need to start hitting a bunch of tennis balls. Okay, take that email. What is it? What's the next action? Where's it going to go? As opposed to, which is what most people do, because it literally learning to make executive decisions on the front end about what things mean is something you can truly train your brain and your neurology to do as a habit, as opposed to the habit of, I have to think. I don't have time to think, so you put it to the side. By the way, I do that sometimes too, but I put it back in my own in basket as opposed to, spreading it around the desk, knowing that I'm still not going to get away with not making that decision. I will sooner than later, and I am going to drive that in basket to zero. I'm looking at it right now, and it's about 8 inches tall. And as soon as I get off the phone, I'm going to be. It's like the light blinking on the answering machine call. I have creative cognitive dissonance that I'm going to relax from by zeroing that out.